I don't know how it works if you swallow a spider, but my guess is that it fucking has babies and eggs, and those spiders then eat you from the inside out until you die a miserable death. And this is what I'm thinking about at fucking 12 p.m. on Wednesday night before my flight, dude. Welcome back to another episode of The Pupil's Life. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. What is going on, man? It's not been a minute for you if you're a loyal listener, but it's been a minute for me. I've been in another country. And yes, I know if you're afraid of COVID, that means I'm high risk. I'm high risk, okay? I'm probably being fucking tracked, contact traced because I went to a different country, man. And but I'm back, all right? I'm back in the land of MP5s. I'm back in the land of fucking being afraid of everything. What's going on, man? What's been new? It's been 2 weeks that I've been gone, and I unplugged. So I don't know what the new thing to be upset about is, and nor do I care, frankly. I don't know, man. I don't know if it seems, it seems like the way that I feel doesn't line up with the things that are happening in the surrounding world. I flew down to Mexico and they have more security measures there than they do here. Like, at the airport, they're like, all right, social distancing. And then you get into the fucking airplane and it's just like, there's no social distancing, dude. You think United Airlines is going to fucking take seats out of their airplane to protect you? Dude, United Airlines doesn't give a fuck about you. United Airlines, it probably crashes an airplane once a year just to spite you. I mean, that's not true, right? I don't want to get fucking sued by United, even though that would probably make my podcast a lot bigger. But yeah, man. Yeah, I've been away for 2 weeks. I've been in Mexico. I've been in the La Riviera Maya. And I went down there to visit my pops and my friends and just have a dandy old time on the beach. And now I'm back, dude. I'm back to fucking, that 8 to 4 and writing and doing the podcast and all these things. It's a weird transition when you get back and you haven't talked into a camera for 15 days. But I'm excited. I will say that's the one thing is that I wasn't looking forward to coming back. Not that I wasn't, not that I was the opposite of that. I wasn't looking forward to coming back while I was down there because I was just enjoying being down there and taking the time off. But on the airplane ride back, I was like, just, stretching my shoulders out and All right, man, I'm back. I'm ready to be back in a country where even if it's the minority, people still talk about emotions and people still talk about, taking care of yourself and striving to become a better human. You know, I love Mexico, man, but it's like going back 10 years every time I visit. It's like no fucking internet. I mean, this time I wasn't on my phone, right? So it didn't matter that there wasn't internet, but other times it's like slow internet. And it's like, why is there slow internet? Because you're on the beach. So what about fucking Malibu? They're on the beach. Why is it that I'm on the beach in Mexico and my internet is shit? You got people with Sky TV, which is basically, fucking, who flips through channels nowadays? Mexicans, apparently, especially tourists in Mexico, just go to an all-inclusive resort and eat your sorrows away until they're fucking weighing you down into the bed, and you just turn on the TV and you start scrolling, right? I didn't really watch much TV, but when I did, I was scrolling and I was like CNN News, and I was like, dude, who would come to Mexico and watch CNN? You know who, dude? A fucking, I don't know, man. I don't want to start insulting people. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, but they probably have a lot of issues. Oh shit, dude. Fuck. Dude, I just fucking one of my earphones dangled off of a little thing that it's hanging off of, and I've been in the land of spiders and cockroaches and scorpions for fucking 15 days, and I was convinced that it was a fucking bug, man, and I'm afraid of bugs. I'm afraid of bugs, all right? I'm afraid of bugs, all right? I said it. I'm afraid of bugs. But I'll have to get over it. I'll have to get over it. I don't want my kids to be afraid of bugs. I don't want my kids to be afraid of the same things that I'm afraid of. It'd be so fucking boring. Then who kills the cockroach? I want my kid to just be like, Daddy, I'll get the cockroach and fucking take it outside and, release it like it's a butterfly or something. Wouldn't that be amazing if my unborn child can not develop a fear of heights and a fear of cockroaches, a fear of spiders, a fear of fucking, lizards, dude. Like, lizards are the one thing that, like, I won't kill a lizard, but I'm also not going to sleep through the night if there's a lizard in my bedroom, right? Because, like, see, here's the thing, and I experienced this on my last night in Mexico. I went to the bathroom right before bed, and there's a spider like this big on a white towel that I had laid on the floor for a fucking rain that was flooding the room, right? There's a spider there. And now I'm like, all right, fuck. I got to kill the spider before it crawls into one of its corners. So I grab a cutting board, right? Because I only brought one pair of shoes, and I don't want to try to kill it with my fucking $100 Allbirds. So I grab a cutting board and I just drop it on top of the spider. And I'm like, that's got to do it. Then I lift it up with a knife, and the spider crawls out and into a fucking corner. And, then what do you do? Right? It's like, I'm not going to find it. So I tried to let go of that fear. And, eventually I went to sleep. But the whole time that I was trying to go to sleep, I was just thinking, like, it would take that spider less than a minute to get from its crawl space where it currently is, where it's currently abiding, less than a minute for it to get to my bed and into my mouth, right? Because I sleep with my mouth open. I can't help it. And how do I know that? Because sometimes I wake up and there's blood on my fucking pillows, you know, because that's how hard I grind my teeth. Um, and so I sleep with my mouth open. A spider, it's like, oh, it's fucking wet and warm in there, dude. I'm going to go see what's in there. Maybe there's some residual foods that I can snack on. And then I wake up, dude. And what if, that was my fear, was like, not that it would go in my mouth and I would wake up and be like, ah, and cough it out, but that I would just not know, right? Just wake up and not know that there's a spider living inside of me. And, I don't know how it works if you swallow a spider, but my guess is that it fucking has babies and eggs, and those spiders then eat you from the inside out until you die a miserable death. And this is what I'm thinking about at fucking 12 p.m. on Wednesday night before my flight, dude. And so, yeah, my heart rate went up when I saw the fucking headphones flick down, and I was like, fuck, dude, another one. So yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm afraid of these days. It's not who won the presidency. It's not the COVID. It's my fucking, the shadows in my room that I think are spiders and bugs and that kind of stuff. Dude, I don't know about you, but I've had a very dry sort of a dry throat day. And it's because I'm not drinking enough water, right? Maybe that's not true. Dude, I just read this book that made me question everything on this planet. It's called Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, or Hawkins, dude, however the fuck you want to pronounce it. And it basically says that, everything you've been told is a program. So like what I just said, I've had a dry throat all day because I didn't drink water. Oh, that's a program. I got COVID because my fucking whatever person didn't get tested. And it's like, oh, so you think COVID is transmitted from person to person? Huh? It's contagious. Well, that's a program. Right? It's telling you all these fucking things, and it's all backed by science. And you're just like, huh? So if I think that I am not going to get COVID because of someone transmitting it to me, then that increases my chances of not getting it. And it says, yeah, because thoughts affect the body. Because when you think, see, there's a fucking bug right there, man. God damn it. Because when you think, all right, and forget about COVID. Let's just say it's like the fucking common cold, right? So that you don't get triggered. People say the common cold is contagious, right? Your girlfriend gets sick and she's all fucking sniffly, and you're like, I'll see you next week, right? And because you don't want to get sick, but that's a program according to this book. Because so if you think, all right, my girlfriend's sick, so if I see her, I'm going to get sick. Basically what that does is that it tells your body to prepare to get sick if you see your girlfriend, right? And so now your body's like creating all these fucking antivirals or whatever you want to call them, and your immune system is overworked for no reason. And overworking your immune system then creates toxins, and then it becomes a weaker immune system, and then it's more likely to contract a virus. And so it all starts with what you think and what you believe, according to this book. But enough about that book, man. I mean, it's a book that I'll go back to several times in the next couple of years. And one of those books that you read and it's like, what just happened, right? Like it really doesn't just make you question everything, but it convinces you to start looking at the world a little bit differently. And it's called Letting Go. I highly recommend that, man. I highly recommend it. What else? I just got back from Mexico, and boy, man, I mean, I'll get into it. I'll get into that trip. I'll get into it, right? That's what this podcast is all about, is a white Mexican story. And this time it just so happens that the story isn't in Austin, Texas. It's in Puerto Morelos, Mexico. But yeah, man. So I went there for 13 days, and I stayed with my dad. He's got 2 properties on the beach. I know I can hear you yelling white privilege, or just privilege, dude, because it's got nothing to do with me being white, you know. And that's the thing, man, dude. I don't even want to get on the topic of privilege, but dude, the things I learned about my family history, I'm like, privilege smivillage, dude. You know, go eat your privilege somewhere else. Eat your privilege sandwich alone, dude. Don't give me any of that bullshit. Dude, apparently my great grandfather died in a bar fight, you know? That just fucking, no wonder I have road rage and I want to fight people all the time, dude. You know, like my great grandfather died in a bar fight, dude. Who can say that? And my grandfather, who I never met, he was in his, you know, he was a young boy. He was a young lad. And from that day on, he had to sort of become, you know, take responsibility for his family and himself. So he started working his ass off, became a workaholic. Then my dad's born, never sees his dad, becomes a workaholic. And then I'm born, never see my dad, become a workaholic. And it's fucking what I'm working on, right? But dude, my great grandfather dies in a bar fight. And then my grandpa has to bust his ass. You know, he's not a privileged guy. He's living in fucking uncivilized territory, you know, having to figure out where the next lawbreaker is going to come from. And when my dad's born, dude, he fucking becomes addicted to drugs, starts selling drugs, almost goes to jail a couple of times, is persecuted by the feds, you know, runs away from his house. And so it's just like, dude, when people say privilege, I'm just like, man, you don't understand trauma. That's your privilege, is that you're ignorant to trauma. But yeah, man, so I went down there, and it's going to be all over the place, but you know, I went down to Mexico, and I'm staying with my dad, and the first weekend I invite my buddies over, right? I get there on a Friday, and on Saturday morning, my dad invites me to come run errands with him, because that's the kind of quality time you spend with your workaholic dad, is errands. So I'm like, all right, let's fucking do it. You know, I'm still kind of optimistic. I'm like, dude, my dad wants to run errands with me. Let's do it. We go to the grocery store, and he's like, what are we going to eat today? And I'm like, I could cook you my chicken, you know, my timoranzac chicken. And he says, oh, perfect. You can make that for the whole staff. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could, right? Fall back into old dynamics, fall back into the same fucking roles that we had when I lived with him. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll make it. And so I buy like 5 times as much as I usually get here in Austin. We drive back home. He's like, all right, it's time for you to start cooking. I'm going to finish these errands on my own. You can use the industrial kitchen, right? He's got a bar and he's got a kitchen on the beach. So I'm like, all right, I'll use the industrial kitchen. I go into the kitchen, dude. It's got no AC. And, you know, it's like 95, 100. And in the room, it's probably like 110 in the kitchen. And I'm like, ah, dude, awesome. My dad wants me to fucking slave away on my first day here. But I'm like, okay, it's my chicken, dude. I'm kind of excited for people to try it. So I suck it up, right? It takes me 4 hours to make it. My friends get there and um, we just kind of catch up. You know, time flies because we're just talking. We're just talking. We're talking about trauma. We're talking about one of my buddies thinks that, you know, what happened to him as a kid doesn't compare to what's going through now. And I'm like, dude, it's all relative. And he's like, no, it's not. It's fucking subjective. You know, get into one of those conversations with people you haven't seen in a couple of years. But it was fun, man. It was all fun and games. And then on, I mean, I don't know, man. What did I do while I was down there? I really didn't do all that much. I turned my phone off for the duration of the trip because I wanted to really disconnect from all the nonsense that was bringing me down when I was here. And I was starting to feel sort of sick, dude. And I was starting to just feel like, you know, is this really all that people care about? And my shoulder started to hurt. My fucking tonsil started to swell up. So I put an end to that for 14, 13 days. And it was no computer, no social media, no phone. And I really, really tried to minimize how much TV I watched. I watched maybe like 2 movies while I was down there. And that's about it. Right. I didn't listen to music except for whatever the bar was playing. I went on a lot of walks. I sat on the beach a lot, just reading and just being still and being quiet. And I also fantasized a lot, man. That's the thing I realized when I went back is that you think it would be nice to live on the beach when you're a young kid. But the thing about living on a beach in that part of Mexico is that you see people walking by your house every day that you never see again. Right. And so let's say I get home from school one day and I go out to the beach and I'm just kind of like looking at the ocean. And then I see these two women walking by from a distance. And I think, oh, women that I don't know, that don't know me. What could happen? You know, it was always my fantasy that something would happen. And then they walk by and they sort of wave at you and smile and they walk back to their hotel. And then, you know, I was alone so often that I would just fantasize about, like, what if I went to their hotel with them? And what if they fucking, you know, what if we had a threesome? And I just wanted some attention. But anyway, I go back and I start having these same fantasies. Right? There's a hotel next to my house. And there's a couple, right? And the woman is fucking stunning, dude. Like Argentinian, you know, in her prime. And then there's another girl that appears to be single, just by herself, reading. And I don't know, man. It's not easy for me to just approach strangers. But my mind just runs with it. It's just like, dude, if you talk to her, then this could happen and this could happen. Then you wouldn't have to be alone. And then blah, 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 blah. And I started to really think about, why do I fantasize? Why did I fantasize so much when I was a kid? And I realized it's because I'm alone and I don't want to be alone. Right. So I escape my body that is feeling alone or feeling sad or feeling pain. And I dive into these fantasies. And if I could make one of those come true, then I can escape my reality even more, which is what I would do. I would I never hooked up with anyone like that, but I would walk to a hotel that was maybe 15 minutes away on the beach, just, a nice little beach walk in my bathing suit. And this was when I was in high school. And it's an all-inclusive hotel that has no sort of identification, right? No bracelet, no nothing. So I could just stroll in, and all of a sudden, I'm part of an all-inclusive hotel, and I can eat whatever the fuck I want, and I can go to the jacuzzi. I can go to the pool. I can drink, dude. You know what that means for a high schooler? I can walk to an all-inclusive hotel, get fucking hammered, and walk home. And even that, for so long, I thought it was because I liked getting away with things. And that's not what it was, man. It's just that I was alone. I was alone, and I lived 40 minutes away from all my friends. So if they didn't come over, I was just, what am I going to do? Drive 40 minutes on a school night to see my buddies for an hour? So I would just go there and just, try to escape, dude, try to escape my reality. And the same thing happened when I went down there this time. My dad is a workaholic, man. That's the unfortunate truth. And I was there for 13 days, and I probably saw him for like an aggregate total of like 10 hours. Right? Like when that sucks, man. That sucks. I saw him for a couple hours a day, a little bit more than 10 hours. But our time together was reserved for after his workday, when he's fucking depleted and just wants to like lie down and fall asleep watching TV. And it's like, dude, I haven't seen you in 2.5 years. Is this really, is this what time together looks like? And so, dude, honestly, it was a mixed bag, this trip. It was a mixed bag. It was really positive in some aspects, and it also just reminded me of a lot of fucking, a lot of trauma, man. I thought I was traumatized, dude. And now I know just how far that trauma goes. Like, when the farther you get from someone, the more excuses you make for them, right? So like I hadn't seen my dad in a long time, and I start to see pictures and hear his voice on the phone, and talk about him in podcasts and whatnot. And I start to think like, all right, maybe it's me, dude. Maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he's not that damaged, or maybe he has changed, or whatever. And then I get there, man, and it's just like, nah, dude. If this guy was my dad, as much as I love him, as much as I love the guy, and as much as I know that he loves me, if this guy was my dad, which he is, I don't know how I survived, man. And I don't want to talk shit about my dad, but it's just, I guess he had to become the things he became in order to survive himself. He's got very narcissistic tendencies. He's very fucking, sort of like just disrespectful. Like I'm there with my stepmom and him and a couple friends of theirs, and we're at dinner, and then my stepmom starts telling a story, and my dad's just like, fucking Wonderwall is playing in the background of the restaurant, and my dad's just like, this song, just blatantly interrupts her because he doesn't like what she's saying. And then when she says something, if she does, right, because most of the time she just sort of like takes it. But when she says something, my dad's like starts laughing, and he's like, you know, he justifies what he did. And I tried to talk to him. I mean, we did talk several times, right? If you heard the Philip McKernan interview, I told my dad my truth. I finally shared my truth with him, which was my if he died tomorrow, my big regret, right? And I told my dad straight up, dude, like, I know it's not your fault. I know it wasn't your fault. But you hurt me, dude. Like, you really hurt me. You and mom hurt me a lot, and my siblings too. And right, I like, I get it, but it's important for me that you know that. And he was there for that. You know, he was there for that, and he heard me out, even if he doesn't really understand a lot of the things that we talked about. Like, you know, I know some families that the parent would just be like, you know, shut you down if you tried to have a conversation about that. And like, I would try to, you know, I told him about the book and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, I already know about this, you know, just fucking shovel it back, start over, you know, forget about that, start over. When are you going to stop tormenting yourself? That's what he told me. And I would try to explain to him, like, dude, he says, when are you going to stop tormenting yourself? I just want you to be happy. And I told him, you know, everyone says they want me to be happy, but when I do the things that are going to make me happy, you don't want that, you know. You want me to stop tormenting myself, dude? Then let me torment myself for however long my fucking trauma requires it. You know, you got to go through the storm to fucking get to shore, dude. I don't know what the saying is. You know, I told them, dude, like, it's just through several conversations, right? This is all sort of fragmented for me, but I told him, like, dude, you don't care about me. You know, at least you don't, maybe you do, but you don't show it. You don't show me that you care about me. If it's not money, then, you know, if it's not money or like having me here and just like letting me be here by myself, you don't care about me, man. He's like, yeah, I do. I care about you a lot. And I'm like, then why don't you show it? How have you shown it? What do you know about me? Who am I, dude? What drives me? What are my friends' names in Austin? What do I do a lot there? What's my favorite thing to do in Austin? What's the reason that I left college? Or why do I write? Why do I write the things that I write? Why do I have a podcast? You know, like, who do I want to have on my podcast next, man? It's like, you don't know me. You don't fucking know me, man. And it's, dude, it's tough to say that kind of stuff to your dad, especially when his response is going to be sort of dismissive and like, you're my kid. I know you. You know, he's like, he's the Mexican equivalent of like, you know, a Joe Pesci, dude, in Goodfellas. You know, it's just like a fucking Italian gangster. You know, it's like, you're my kid. Of course I know you. You're my fucking kid. Of course I know you. Yeah. Hey, he thinks he's my kid and I don't know him. You know, it's just like, dude, just because you have my blood doesn't mean that you know me. And it's hard to tell your dad that kind of stuff because you see the pain in his face too. And that's another big thing that I realized is that a lot of my life was me suppressing how I felt to protect my dad. Because if he felt sad or if he felt bad, I felt twice as sad and twice as bad because he didn't regulate his emotions. He put them all on me. And so it was like, all right, well, I feel like shit right now, but if I say something, then I'm going to feel twice as much like shit. And feeling like shit as it is right now, it feels like the end of the world. So if I say something, dude, then what is it going to be? You know, it was survival. And it came up again while I was down there. I think it was like day 10 that it was a Tuesday. It was this last Tuesday. I woke up, and Tuesday is like the day off, right? The day that his bar is not open. So I wake up, I go up to his room, and he says, "What are we going to do today? It's my day off, yada, yada, yada." And I'm like, let's start with breakfast. There's this really nice cafe that I saw driving by, and I want to go try it out. And he immediately takes over the plan, and he says, "Oh, great. My friend can come with us, and Isabel too, my stepmom." So now it's the four of us. It's not just me and my dad. And we drive there, right? We order our food, and my dad finishes his food in 10 minutes, gets up and walks out of the restaurant and leaves us three just eating. And as he gets up, we're like, "Where are you going, dude? What are you doing?" He's like, "You guys finish eating. I got some stuff to do." All right. So he goes and fucking buys food for his workers that are like his construction workers, because they're not off on Tuesday. And then he goes and buys a fucking, a tool for one of them or something. He comes back, and the women at a table with us are like, "You just get up and you leave us like that." And then my dad's like, "Come on, finish your food. Like, I got more stuff to do." And it's all of a sudden, and like, I thought this was your day off, right? I thought this was, I'm leaving in 2 days and I barely gotten to see you. It's your day off and you're finding work to do. And, and he just laughs when you say that. And so I'm like, all right, dude, fuck it. I'm just gonna ignore this like I always used to. And he drives the three of us, three adults that don't need to be doing this. He drives us around while he goes and runs errands. He goes and buys fucking cement, and he goes and checks on the status of one of his cars at the shop, and it's just like, dude, this is not what I want to be doing on my last couple days. So we get home after all that, and I just like, I'm sick of it, dude. But instead of telling him, I rush to my bedroom, I grab my fucking book, and I go out to the pool, and I'm just like, fuck it, man. I become a child again, and I'm just like, fuck it, dude. An hour later, he comes out there and he's like, "So do you want to go to a movie later?" Or I'm just like, dude, whatever. Whatever, man. Oh, excuse me. I say whatever. But it's not whatever. I want my dad to fucking care, dude. I want him to want to spend time with me. I want him to stop fucking working. But I just say, whatever, man. Whatever you want, whatever, man. And he sort of walks away. And when he walks away, I'm just like, dude, it's not whatever. I put my book down. I immediately just burst into tears. I grab my towel and just fucking start crying, man. I start sobbing because here I am 2.5 years later, and, not much has changed, and it hurts. And it hurts not to be able to see your dad because of his pain. It hurts not to be able to, reach him. And so I start crying, man. And then after a while, it starts becoming like a heavy cry. So I'm like, I'm going to go back in my room. I get up and we cross paths on my way to my room. And he says, "Are you okay? Are you upset?" And I just shake my head and I fucking walk away. go in my room, curl up in the fetal position in my bed and just sob, dude. Like I'm on 6 grams of fucking golden teacher mushrooms, reliving my childhood. And he comes, knocks on the door, calls out my name. I ignore it, dude. It's locked. It's like, fuck this, man. I'm just like crying, dude. I'm in so much pain. And on the 3rd or 4th knock, he goes up to his room, comes back down, goes up to, on the 3rd or 4th time that he does that, I've composed myself and I'm like, all right, I need to talk to him. So I let him in, dude, and we just have a heart to heart. He says, are you upset? And I tell him, man, straight up, like, yeah, dude, I'm fucking upset. And I tell him all the stuff that I just told you. Like, you don't want to see me. You don't make the time to see me. And it hurts, man. It hurts. I know it's because of your own shit, but it still hurts. And he says, oh, that's not fair. We've seen each other more this time than any time. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Stop telling me what's fair and what isn't, dude. Listen to what I'm saying. You manipulate your way into finding some sort of rationalization that'll make you feel better about the situation. You say, this is the time we've seen each other the most. And you hear that as a good thing. I hear that and I hear, oh, dude, you see your dad 10 hours and 13 days after 2.5 years. And that's the most you've seen him in a while? Well, what does that mean, dude? It means you fucking never see your dad, dude. That's what that means. So stop making this into a positive. And that's just, that's when I told him everything, man. I told him, like, dude, you don't know me or any of your other kids. You got 3 kids. One of them is off in fucking Portugal with an abusive boyfriend. And you think that she's doing well. And then your older son, he's fucking following in your footsteps, becoming a photographer, and you couldn't give a fuck less about his photography. When have you called him to tell him, dude, I fucking love that picture? Or, oh, dude, remember this time when we started taking pictures together? Like, it just, it's a weird position to be in, man. Like, when you know that it's because your parent suffered a lot as a kid, but you also see that it's just like, nah, dude, you don't care. You don't care. And you just make yourself out to be a victim and you make me pity you. He just starts like, yeah, maybe it's all my fault. And maybe I wasn't a good dad. And it's like, dude, stop the pity party. I'm not blaming you. I'm not asking you for this. I'm asking you for right now, man. Forget about the fucking past. I told you I just needed you to hear how I felt about it. Nothing can be done about that. We can only worry about right now. And it's just like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm just like, dude, care more. I don't know, dude. You want to die not knowing a thing about your son? He's like, well, I know a lot about you. I'm like, what the fuck do you know about me? He's like, I know you left college because you didn't like that I was paying so much money. I'm like, that's not why I left college. Sure, that's one of the reasons I hated being there, but that's not why I left. And he's like, why didn't you leave? And then I tell him, and he's like, oh, instead of hearing me, dude, he's like, oh, well, you should have stayed in college. It's like, dude, all right, we're going to have a discussion now fucking about college. Did you go to college, dude? No, you didn't fucking go to college. Stop, dude. Stop playing this fucking game. It's like, and he's like, I do care. And I'm like, then why don't you show it? And he's like, show it how? And I'm like, why don't you ask me about the things that I'm writing about? I don't need you to read them, dude. But do you care? He's like, but I already know all about it. I hear about it from my sisters. I hear about it from my fucking cousins. I hear about it from your stepmom. I hear about it from everywhere. And I'm like, what about from me? What about from the person that's actually doing it, dude? What about from the unbiased fucking, you know, creator of it all? Do you care to hear about it from that person, dude? And you know, there's these moments where he lets out nuggets of truth, but then immediately, you know, finds a way to sort of go away from them. And when I said that, you know, why don't you ask me about it? He said, you know, maybe that's something that I'm really afraid of, is to confront that, because I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, Dad, I'm telling you now, dude, that wouldn't bother me. Like, why would my dad caring about my life bother me? It's coming from your fucking past. And he's like, oh, I had great parents. You don't know anything about our. And it's like, defense, right? I fucking get it, man. But still, you know, that was the hard part about being down there. And, you know, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it, because if I lived my entire life never having stood up to my dad, then I don't know where I would be, man. Like 15, 20 years from now, you know, I would still resent that, and I would still be holding on to that. And maybe it's up to him to change. You know, it's not my responsibility to change him. It's my responsibility to change me, and to help him where I can, right? And fuck, excuse me. But yeah, you stand up to your dad. It's like in that documentary, The Work, right? Where they're in the prison and these guys come in for intensive therapy. And one of the kids is like, I feel like these guys want me to cry, but I'm not gonna. And eventually, dude, day 3, day 4, they ask the guy, what are you afraid of? And he's like, my dad. He's like, what? He never asked me to help him with anything. He's like, all right, stand up to your dad. Who here looks like your dad? And the guy picks a guy out. He's like, you. He's like, all right, this guy's going to act like your dad. He's like, don't get away from me, son. He's like, fucking starts unraveling all this trauma, dude, and just shaking and yelling. And it's like, yeah, get it fucking out, man. Get it out. And that's what I did, man. I got it out. That's what it felt like. But it's so hard to do, especially when you've learned to protect your parent. Because what happens is that I get it out and I don't really feel relieved. I just feel like, now I've hurt him. You know, it's like expressing myself has hurt my parent, and now I need to feel guilty about it. Now I need to feel shameful, right? Because he's a little kid. He doesn't know what to do with what I've said. And I can see it in his face, dude. It's like a just deer in the headlights, just like, you know, and it's like, dude, take control of your fucking life. It's not all about money. It's about more than money. And I also found out, you know, it's one thing to know, right, what your traumas are and how you were treated and all these things, but it's another thing to hear it from someone else that saw it. And my stepmom, she told me 2 stories. And when I heard them, it just broke my heart, man. Because again, it for me to tell the story about my childhood is one thing, and that breaks my heart too, man. But to listen to someone else tell a story from my childhood is a completely different thing. And she told me, you know, it was very bizarre for me when I first met your dad and I first moved in with you guys, because he would pick you up from school, come home, and I would rush up to him and say, like, what did the kids say? What did the kids say? because I didn't know you guys that well yet. I didn't want to be a burden or whatever, right? And my dad and your dad would just say, nothing. What are they going to say? They're fine. And she would be like, what do you mean they didn't say anything? My kids won't stop talking about their day at school. Your kids didn't say anything? They're in their own world. They've got their friends. They're fine. Right? This fucking life lie that my dad told himself. And so then one day I needed new soccer shoes. And I went with my stepmom. And she was explaining to me like, oh, they don't use these cleats anymore. They use these other ones. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then she asked, I had a soccer game that weekend. And she asked me, so would it be all right? Or would it be something that you like? Would you want me to come watch you play your soccer game? And I said, you would go? Like that, dude. I was like, you would go? Like, you actually give a fuck? Is basically what I said. And she was like, of course I would. I'm dying to see you play soccer and blah, blah. And then she goes and tells my dad, and he's like, fuck. Why'd you bother him? Why are we gonna go? What are we gonna do there? He's gonna be uncomfortable and blah, blah. He doesn't want us there. Right? Because his dad probably didn't allow him to be there. And so he thinks that nobody wants him there, right? It's the same fucking thing. I experienced the same thing. You know, when I had a girlfriend in fucking middle school, I was afraid to go sit with her and her friends because I was like, they don't want me there, right? It's the same fucking thing. It's generational trauma, man. But then, so there's another story. And I don't know which one's worse, right? I had a car accident with my brother and a friend of ours when I was 13. And I had to go to the dentist for like the next 6 years. Still have to go to the dentist because of it. And, you know, this was one of the times that I didn't just walk to the dentist by myself at 13. That my dad drives me to the dentist and my stepmom's in the car with us. And we parked the car outside of the dentist or I think it was just like the doctor. This was just the doctor. I don't know. And my dad starts to tell me, you know, make sure you hear everything that the doctor says. Make sure that he writes down your prescription and all the places to get it and all these things. And don't miss any kind of information. And my stepmom is like, wait, he's going to go in there by himself? And my dad's like, yeah. I need to take advantage of the time. I need to go buy cement. I need to go fucking get a bunch of things done. I need to take advantage of the time. And she's like, he's 13 years old, right? But she didn't want to start a fight, so she's just like, okay, like I'll go with him. And it's just like, dude, I didn't even remember that. That's how fucked up that is that there was just like another day for me, right? Oh no, my dad's not going to come to the doctor with me. I'm going to go by myself, dude. Why would my dad go to the doctor with me? Why would my dad go watch me play soccer? Why would my dad go fucking do anything with me that isn't what he wants to do? You know, that's just not how things work with him. And it was crazy, man. It was fucking wild just to hear all these things and also, you know, outside of whatever my relationship with my dad is, whatever our dynamics and our pain points are, I got to learn a lot about his life and about, you know, just what life was like in general in where I lived before I lived. You know, I learned about my dad, like I said, his drug addiction, his fucking dealing drugs, running away from his house at like 13, leaving his uncle's business at 24 and buying property, dude, and his own car and all these things. And it's like, you know, I don't have a car or property yet, but it's like, oh, dude, I fucking left college and I I moved to a new place that I didn't know. It's like you start to recognize the patterns, and it helps to realize that this is way bigger than me. This is way bigger than just me and what my childhood was like. It goes back to my fucking great grandpa getting killed in a bar fight. And so yeah, that's kind of the trip that I had, right? Is I wrote a lot about what was going on, and I read that letting go book, and just kind of fantasized about different things. Hung out with my friends, I have a friend that works in like finance. He wants to drop everything and fucking come live my life. I'm like, dude, I mean, I've got good things to say about it, but you can do this whenever you want, He wants to just like go be a waiter and just fucking have more free time and be able to do the things that he wants. And I'm like, dude, why doesn't my dad think this? Dude, why do all my friends think that I'm living this fucking amazing life? But then my dad's like, stop tormenting yourself. And my mom's like, dude, do you need medication? Are you mentally unstable? And my sister's like, dude, nobody's gonna fucking relate to you. Like, you're the only person that's like this. And all of their friends are like, fucking, man. It's like, dude, it's this traumatized society. A traumatized society where people think that hiding is what's important and making money and, just fucking, that's about it, man. Hide your emotions and make money. That's my dad's life philosophy. And so I don't know. It's maybe the first time, maybe the second. It's like the first real time that I've gone back and just felt completely like I don't belong there. And, I feel like I belong in Austin now, but for a long time I didn't. Not because it was Austin, but just because it's the US. And it's like, I didn't have a childhood here. I don't know what kids talk about here. I don't know how to just go to a park with 10 people and be loud and sort of just talk about small talk. And so, like, my brother said, it's like we're just moving on from that part of our life. It's not that we have lost anything, but it feels like that to me. It's like this used to be the place that I came back to sort of get grounded. And in a way it was, but it's because it just makes me value and be grateful for what I have in Austin. Not because fucking that place is like, this is my home. This is where people love me. It's like, nah, this is where I'm reminded of how fucking, how important it is that I do the work. Because like nobody wants to hear their kid have a heart to heart with them about how you're not seeing them enough. Like that, dude, that's not the kind of fucking father that I want to be. And at the same time, if my dad hadn't been that way, dude, I would be a very different person. So, and that's what I was trying to tell him. It's like, I'm not blaming you, man. It's not your fault. It's important that we don't just let that continue to be the way that we interact. So hopefully some things clicked for him. I know a lot of things fucking, clicked and sealed and got fucking jammed for me, dude. It's like, I thought that I was neglected, dude. Not just that, sometimes being with my parents was more fucking traumatizing than being by myself. It's just weird, man. It's so weird. It's so weird to talk to your parent about something and see them sort of like squirm and like try to run away from it. But again, I'm happy I did it. And that's like I said, dude, it was a really heavy trip. And the times that weren't heavy were just kind of me lounging around. So there's not a lot of stories to tell about it. There's a lot of things that I learned, right? Like, I'm sure I'll talk more about being off my phone for 13 days and et cetera, right? I got to see my cat, dude, my fucking cat. And I had a fucking, I connected more with my cat than my dad, is what I'll say, right? I went back home and I saw my cat, and she slept in my room, and she just curled up between two pillows while I was writing. And then I stopped and I was like, oh, let me go play with the cat for a little bit. And she just started fucking like doing this thing, like rubbing into me, dude. And then she started nibbling on my finger. And maybe I'm projecting, right? But I thought for a second, like, oh, dude, she's kind of upset that I've been gone for almost 3 years. She missed me, and she's like, where the fuck have you been, man? It's lonesome here. It's not what I signed up for. All right, man. I saw an alligator in my fucking, pretty much my backyard, just sort of chilling in the mangrove. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back in Austin. And I'm glad to be back doing the Pupil's Life. You know, I'm glad to have get some new guests on here and keep the train a rolling. So that's going to be all for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Pupil's Life. My name is Nicholas Gomez. My newsletter is sort of shifting into this, like, learn about the things that I'm doing to heal. So if you're interested in healing, if you're interested in writing, my newsletter is a great place to start. There's a lot of things that I don't share on the podcast or on any social media that I share there. And it's sendfox.com/NIKOAGF.com. Or I already fucking said .com. And yeah, that's all. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I will see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.